Welcome to another episode of Two Old Geeks Talking. Now on the World Wide Web.
Hey, welcome back to Two Old Geeks Talking. I'm Rob.
I'm Trace.
And today we're talking about the
Thor.
mighty Thor. That's right.
Tell me what you think about Thor, brother.
What do I think about Thor? Okay, so, of course, you all know that I'm the DC guy and you're the Marvel guy.
Right.
But out of most of the DC characters, Thor always kind of resonated with me, kind of because I'm into the Norse mythology.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I've been a Thor fan for years, and to be honest with you, you pick a couple of subjects, you pick a subject 1 month, and the next month, and then I go. And I went through and looked at our 60-plus videos, and out of those 60-plus videos, 13 of them was things that you and I both like.
Okay.
So typically, it's something I'm into and you know of, but you're not into.
Right.
Or vice versa, but we're both big Thor fans.
Right.
So, of course, Thor's first appearance was in Journey into Mystery '83.
Right.
And then it didn't switch over to Thor later. And you can get his first appearance if any of our subscribers wants to buy us a copy. It's on, it's on eBay now. And they used to rate comics, mint, near mint.
Right.
Very good,
Poor,
fine, poor. And now they do it on a scale from 1 to 10. This one's a 5.5. And but you can get it for just $23,000.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, so like I said, if somebody gets their tax return back and they want to get that for us, if you do that, we'll give you a shout out on the next video, right?
Yeah, that's the least we could do, right? A shout out.
But I know you were drawn toward Thor because of your like Norse mythology and stuff like that. For me, I've just always been a fan of Jack Kirby art.
Right.
And I mean, Jack Kirby, he just drew in a way, and I've got some Journey of the Mysteries back here. He just drew in a way that his characters are very kinetic.
Right.
So in other words, he conveyed a lot of action and a lot of motion and a static panel.
I just love his design, and his design of things has carried on for so many years just because, I mean, why do you mess with perfection? I mean, it's just, I mean, some of his stuff seems a lot of blocky and stuff like that.
Yeah, he had a style.
But in a way, it worked.
Yeah, I mean, and Stan Lee did the writing. And
Stan Lee came up with the ideal for Thor.
He did some of the writing in the early. If you look, it says written by Stan Lee.
He actually confessed that he came up with the ideal. He did the creator, but he actually let his brother, Larry Lieber.
Yeah.
He said, I let him script it. So basically, he came up with most of the storylines.
Well,
Stan Lee just said, that'd be like me saying, Tracy, I want you to make me a cake, and this is what I want it to look like, but you're the one that actually make the cake.
Yeah. But you come up with the design.
But I came up with the design.
Well, what I will say about the early comics, and I've been going back and rereading my Thors, and I was actually doing that before you said you wanted to do Thor this month.
Okay.
And as I was going back and rereading them, these old Thors, like you read a modern comic, and you can... Sorry. I didn't know. I thought it was supposed to be sunny today. I didn't know it was supposed to be rain. But anyway, yeah. So you read a modern comic and you can get through it in 10 minutes, probably 15 minutes.
Right.
But there was so much information and so much writing in those old comics. I mean, you're probably going to spend a half an hour reading that comic. You want to tell me about your friend? Or you can later. Go ahead, brother.
So, anyway, here's what, okay, like I said, I'm more of a DC fan, and although DC has a problem with regurgitating origin stories, Marvel seems to have a problem with altering origin stories. So, throughout the years, Thor has got different origin stories.
Yeah.
And I kind of prefer the one that Lieberman and Kirby came up with.
Yeah.
of there was Thor, Odin's son. That's his name, but he's Odin's son, and he was a cocky, all about himself, self-absorbed person. So Odin literally had sent him to Earth. First of all, he was born. Here's what irritates me. Odin wasn't a fan of people from Earth. Yet he went down to Earth and sired this child, Thor, with Gaia, or Gaia, however you want to pronounce it, and created Thor. And then he had his wife, Freya, raise it as one of his own, or one of her own. It was actually his. And so then he sent him to Earth to teach him humility and compassion by putting him into a body that was crippled, and having him actually a medical student who eventually became a doctor.
Dr. Donald Blake,
right.
So he would take his staff,
right,
hit it against the ground, and when he did, his hammer would come out.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And this hammer goes along with the original comic.
Right. The comic book series.
Whosoever holds this hammer is worthy. Whoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. Yeah. Since I dropped it, it's obvious I don't. but on a side note, just trying to get you off track.
No, you're fine.
In the first issues of Journey into Mystery, it never was called Mjolnir. It was called. They made up a magical metal for this to be made out of.
Uru?
Uru.
Yeah.
And Lieberman is the one that come up with it. And so doing research into Norse mythology, after they'd already made the Thor comic, he realized that Thor's hammer was referred to, as Mjolnir.
Right.
And then that's the way they portrayed it in the comic. But in the beginning, he would just call it his magical Uru hammer. So when he get ready. Typically, he fought Mr. Hyde and Cobra, and of course his brother Loki, and the Absorbing Man in the first issues. But every time he would go into battle, it was with his magical Uru hammer. So
I've seen that. That's pretty slick.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a comic book accurate Thor hammer. That's pretty badass.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Now, do you know why the handle's so short on Mjolnir? Because during the making of it actually got broke.
Oh, I thought
it was supposed to be actually a long handle like this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I got it, brother.
So anyway, back to what I was saying. So, as Dr. Donald Blake, he ended up falling in love with a nurse named Jane. What was her name?
Jane Foster.
Jane Foster.
Yeah.
And had a relationship with her, which pissed Odin off.
Yeah, he didn't like
He
him.
literally went and made love to Earth, but he got pissed off because Odin fell in love with somebody from
very
Earth.
hypocritical.
Right? I mean, it's daddies. I mean, shit. Can never make them happy. So anyway, that's really different from the movies, which we'll get into before, which kind of irritates me. But anyway, that was how Jane Foster came out. She was actually one of his co-workers. Let's see. Oh, speaking of Mjolnir. So, let's see. How many people do you think has been able to actually hold the hammer of Thor?
Including me?
Yeah, including you.
I'd say, I know Captain America did.
Right.
And Superman did in the DC crossover. Right. And Beta Ray Bill held it. And and just me. That's the only one.
So apparently, it's supposed to be a special thing, and not everybody can hold it.
Yeah, because it's magical.
Right.
Not even the Hulk could pick it up.
Right. But apparently, everybody else could freaking do it because, like you said, Beta Ray Bill, Buri, which was Thor's great grandfather, Bor, which is his grandfather, Eric Masterson, which is another
Thunderstrike.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Loki held it at one time. The Destroyer, Moon Knight, Wonder Woman, Superman.
Yeah.
Black Panther, Eddie Brock, Silver Surfer, Conan, the Black Widow, Valkyrie, and Captain America.
Yeah,
That's a lot of freaking people. For
what if they get together and like have
just toss it around?
No, I mean,
You're
what if they like get together and have anniversaries? All the people, like a special select club.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they get together. Yeah. Let me ask you this: did you ever watch the 1966 cartoon of Thor? Did you ever watch it?
1966? No.
Yeah, it was. Now you got to realize Thor just come out. He hadn't been out very long.
Right.
Journey into Mystery. And so Stan Lee they were always trying to step outside the comics into animation and cinema, even at the beginning. So they took Jack Kirby's original art, and they would like try to animate his pictures.
Okay.
And so he's got great art, but it lost a lot when they went to the animation process, a lot of the detail and stuff.
Well, it wasn't made for animation.
Yeah, and so you get these static bodies, and maybe one arm would move, and then the mouth would move. But you got to check them out because they go to the original Journey into Mystery Stories.
Right.
It was something called Marvel Superhero, I forget what station it came on, but they released it and come on Saturday morning. I watched them in the 70s.
Right.
And but Thor had a theme song.
Oh.
Yes. I want to play it for you. Yeah. See if this ain't the best theme song you've ever heard. No. Wait a minute. It's not playing.
Cross the rainbow bridge of Asgard, where the booming heavens roar. You'll behold in breathless wonder. What a wonder, mighty Thor!
We might have to rewind that.
Yeah. Here, we'll do it again. Oh man, I'm really screwing this up.
Just go back.
We're gonna have to do some editing here. Edit!
We don't edit.
They know what I listen to on my off time. Cup of meat by that.
Cross the rainbow bridge of Asgard, where the booming heavens roar. You'll behold in breathless wonder the God of thunder, mighty Thor.
Hey, isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, it sounded like something you could march to.
Yeah. And it's funny you said that because at the time they tried to start a club and it was called Marvel's Merry Marching Society. Marvel's Merry Marching Society. You can send in money and get a little pin and everything. There's people that still have those pins and sell them. Yeah. So all right, back to Thor.
So let's talk about Thor's powers.
Okay.
So of course he's a god.
Yes. Very strong.
Very strong. And he has
Now, he don't fly. He just throws his hammer and hangs on to it.
Right. He uses the hammer, swings it, and it pulls him along.
Yeah. I don't fly either.
But he has superhuman strength, and the reason he has superhuman strength, not just because he's from Asgard, but his strength is actually augmented because him and his family eats the golden apples of Idun.
Yeah.
Or Idun,
Yeah.
or whatever. So that's something that gives him his strength.
Yeah, cool.
Durability. He's immune to most diseases.
Yeah.
Which would be good during COVID season, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then here's one that I did not know about. He can literally regenerate. Like if you cut his arm off,
yes,
he can regenerate organs, limbs, and stuff like that. I don't know how that ever slipped past me.
Yeah.
Was that just like a plot twist they threw in there? Just to...
I don't know. I guess he might have lost a limb in one of the comics. I know he lost an arm in some of the modern comics. I stopped reading Thor probably back in the late 80s.
Okay. Was there a reason?
Yeah, I mean...
Was it
just change a writer. Yeah, just change a writer. And as a geek, you can't afford to buy every comic that comes out, and so it got to where they were just having crossover after crossover, and sometimes multiple crossovers a year, and so by the time like Jason Aaron come along, which he's written Thor for like 10 years, I'd been bailed out on that. So So, when did you stop reading? It was before then, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I just picked it up periodically, just, you know, dabbled with Thor just because it was something I liked. Most of the Thor that I knew was affiliated with the Avengers
Yeah.
because he's literally like one of the OG of the. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
he
Yeah.
basically in a form or fashion, even in the movies, is the reason the Avengers got together.
Yeah. Speaking of movies, over there yet?
Well, let's hit some of the TV series.
Go for it.
You start with the TVs,
Yeah.
the Marvel superheroes, which
Yeah.
came out
Yeah.
in '66. In '88, there was the Incredible Hulk Returns, the old television show with Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
actually had a Thor in that.
Yeah, yeah. That guy actually shows us some of the cons sometimes and signs Thor pictures.
That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes in 2010. 2011, there was the Tales of Asgard, which actually was a cartoon geared towards younger people.
I watched it. It was by they were it was before Thor had his hammer.
Right.
Him and Loki was young.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It was actually a pretty good. I mean, it had some plot things that was crappy, but all in all, I enjoyed it. I watched it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Avengers Assemble, and then the latest television thing, I guess you consider it television, is actually on the streaming service, was the What If series.
Yeah, I didn't watch that.
Yeah, I watched it just because I wanted to see the Thor itself. That's what I
Yeah,
wanted to see.
Yeah.
And
I like the What If comics, but for some reason the Disney What If, I just really wasn't interested.
right,
in
I got the What If series for years. That and the Spider-Man Marvel team.
I've got a What If Conan fought Thor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got that.
And
that old comic.
you had to look and see if that's when Conan helped Mjolnir.
Yeah, I can't remember. Can't remember.
You'll have to check it out. So now we get into the films.
Yeah. So I mean, growing up with things like the Spider-Man television series and Incredible Hulk and Wonder Woman and some of the things, you know, getting big budget superhero movies that were quality was something we didn't think we'd ever get.
Right.
And so when geekdom really took off, and I think it's peaked out now, and it's on its way back down.
Oh, don't say that.
Okay, but it could be. But you know, we started getting these Marvel movies, and one of the first one in the MCU, not the first one of the first one was Thor, and I really liked the movie. I thought Chris Hemsworth did a fantastic job, and it was before Marvel threw in way too much humor into all their movies.
Yeah.
So it had a more serious tone, had some lighthearted tones too.
Sure.
But there's a line you can cross with humor where you're not making an action adventure, you're making a comedy, and they really hadn't crossed that yet. Natalie Portman, who I'm a fan of, and of course I'm a big fan of The Professional, or Leon as it was called overseas.
Yeah, she was young in that.
Yeah. So and of course she was in Star Wars movies. I thought she made a good Jane Foster. So
Yeah.
what'd you think of the first one?
I'm like you. I liked it. They didn't stick verbatim to the comic books because of making Jane Foster more of a scientist.
Yeah.
And they kind of, like they always do, they have to alter things to tell their tale. But I did like it because you got to see Asgard in all its glory. Kirby, man, he did an awesome job drawing Asgard.
Yeah.
But to see it, see it fleshed out,
Yeah.
that was pretty daggone
Well,
cool.
but Anthony Hopkins is old. Could there been anybody better?
He did good. He did really good, and I enjoyed his. Do I think there could have been somebody better? I don't know. He didn't seem godly enough. When I think of Odin, I think of somebody twice the size of Thor, and somebody that's going to look down, and you just look at him and think he's a big bear of a guy.
Yeah.
So, but Anthony Hopkins, he did it because he's a good actor.
Yeah.
But I when I think of Thor, I think of a big giant bear of a man that.
What about Loki? You like that actor?
Dude, he
Tom
did
Hiddleston?
awesome with it. The difference between Loki in the comic books and Loki, they made him more of a trickster. In the movies, more of a nuisance, and of course, he was eventually the villain later on. But in the comics, he was bad. He was pure freaking evil in the
Yeah,
comics.
yeah.
I mean, they didn't make him that evil. They almost made him a
Sympathetic villain.
like
Yeah.
a sympathetic villain. Exactly.
So from Thor, eventually he got a second movie, Thor: Dark World.
Yeah,
And again, everybody
2013.
come back. Tom Hiddleston, Anthony Hopkins, Natalie Portman, Chris Hemsworth was back, and there again it had a serious,
Right.
it had a serious tone, and we had Dark Elves was the villain. Now I will go back to the first movie. I love seeing a live action Destroyer. He was in the early comics,
Right.
and so it was really cool to
And
see
they was
that.
pretty accurate to the depiction of it.
And I like the live action take on the Dark Elves too. So what'd you think of the second one?
I enjoyed the second one. I thought it was pretty cool. I liked the story base. I think it was, of course, I didn't enjoy this part of the movie, but I thought it was actually kind of insightful that they actually had Freya get killed in this one. I mean,
Yeah.
to see Thor's mother die,
Yeah.
and that kind of led up to some of the ways he reacted to other situations. I mean, you lose somebody like that, it's going to affect the way you act.
Oh sure, yeah.
And that's the great thing I like about Chris Hemsworth. He's a good actor.
Oh, he's good.
So
he's
he
good.
could put those emotions into it when he
He not
needed
only
to.
looks the part. Now he to me he looked more like Thor the more he played Thor. At the beginning, I don't know if the way they done his makeup, the way they dyed his hair, it was kind of washed out. I don't know if you noticed that
It
or
was,
not.
it
in the
was
first movie.
you could literally tell it was kind of not real. They bleached his
Yeah,
eyebrows
yeah,
out. It just
yeah.
wasn't
Didn't
right.
look quite right. Yeah.
Right.
So, Thor Ragnarok, third film.
Right.
What'd you think of it?
Okay. I had high hopes for it because, in the trailers you see a movie that is almost a mirror image of a lot of Kirby's art,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, that's badass.
Yeah, that was cool. A lot of the scenery and a lot of the armor and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And I thought that's pretty cool. And then seeing Hulk like in his
Oh, yeah.
in his
Going-
armor and
yeah,
shit
going
like that,
against
and you're
Thor,
like,
yeah.
oh man, which harks back to when he went to another world and was basically a warrior Hulk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had high hopes for it, but then when I got into it, they seem to be making Thor more of a, as Tony Stark put it, Point Break. He was more of a surfer dude.
Yeah.
He didn't seem like he had the intelligence that he had in the first two movies. They kind of dumbed him down a little bit.
Well, I think they saw that Chris Hemsworth could do comedy, and everybody can't. And they saw
Right.
that in the small amounts of comedy they had in the first two, and so they really unleashed him with comedy in Thor Ragnarok. I'm a big fan of Thor Ragnarok. First of all, Hela, Kate Blanchett.
Oh, shit,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, man!
Yeah, when they do the serious action parts,
Yeah,
they do it right.
She's fine. Oh man,
You're
she-
just ate up.
Oh
with her.
man, I mean, and then when they had her hair dark, oh, she looks even better with dark hair. Oh man, it was so
he
good.
was over licking the screen.
It was great, man. Oh man, and they, Taika Waititi he directed the movie, but he didn't write it, and he does comedy good. He doesn't do writing good, but he does comedy good. And so I really like the Games Master, and I like the whole thing. Odin died in this one too,
Right.
and I thought that was a little touching. And so, to me, the first one I probably give a 7 out of 10. The second one I give 8 out of 10, and Thor Ragnarok I would give a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
Even though you weren't a big fan.
I mean, I didn't not enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of. I would have gave the first one 9 out of 10. The second one, a 7 out of 10. This one, I'm only giving maybe a 6 or 7 because I think of Thor. I think of warrior race. I don't think of any of that comedy stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's a place and you can slip it in there. You know,
Yeah.
life isn't always such a serious thing. You got to have fun, or
Yeah,
we wouldn't be doing what we do.
True.
But you can just saturate too much of it.
Okay, so now we get to Thor: Love and Thunder. Have you seen it?
Oh yeah, no, I've
Okay,
seen it a
so
couple of times.
I would show you the Blu-ray, but I don't have it. And the reason I don't have it is because I give that one probably a 2 out of 10. That movie was so bad, and if it wasn't for Teresa, I would have walked out on it. I mean, it was so bad, it was painful. It was like dying slowly. And I
Right.
mean,
And they had the opportunity to take that storyline and make it into a good movie.
You know, first of all, Jason Aaron, and we talked about it in the last Geek Speak, you know, he catches a lot of flack because he doesn't write superheroes very good. But probably the last well-written superhero story that was, I didn't read, but was well received by the masses, was Gore the God Butcher. And it's a good concept. And so those comics are sought after and critically acclaimed. And so that's what the movie was based on. But remember I told you how in the third one, there was so much humor in Thor Ragnarok. But boy, they crossed the line in Thor Love and Thunder. And something else happened. Taika Waititi, which I really liked Thor Ragnarok, he directed Thor Love and Thunder. But he also wrote it. And he didn't write Thor Ragnarok.
Right.
And that is the horrible, horrible movie. And I don't think Chris Hemsworth will ever return to the character. I mean, it took Thor from just a high spot, you know, first movie, second movie, third movie, it took him all the way down to the pits
I blame it on
what they call Norse
two
hell.
different things. What do they call Norse hell? I have to think of it.
Okay, well, don't worry. It took him all the way down to Norse hell.
Yeah,
So
it's
anyway,
basically hell, but
yeah. But anyway,
So anyway, I think with the popularity of Deadpool and Suicide Squad, which was pushing the comedy, and it was good for what it was, they thought that they would ride that as well
yeah,
because that was what was popular, and I think they screwed up. And the second thing is in the Avengers Endgame,
yeah,
where Thor failed to kill Thanos.
yeah.
So then he went into freaking depression and got fat and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
And it's just like, oh, come on now. He's a warrior. He has wisdom. He has strength. He has, friends. Nobody would
I
sit
think
there
when he
and just-
joined the Avengers, he was already like 1,500 years old. I
Yeah.
think is what they said.
And
yeah.
for him to have lived that long, this is what's
yeah.
ran him into looking like the dude from The Big Lebowski. That's basically what he was compared to.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is, I saw I can't remember the exact figure, how many millions of dollars they spent on that Thor: Love and Thunder.
Right.
Somebody was pocketing that money.
No.
That money wasn't on the screen.
Yeah,
I mean, the
it wasn't
special effects
CGs
wasn't
and
as
stuff.
good.
Oh, and
And-
another thing that irritated me, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Cutting you off, is with that movie, you had the opportunity to have another set of gods. You had Zeus,
Yeah,
and they literally made him like some kind of like orgy freaking weirdo.
yeah. I mean, even Natalie Portman, which I'm a fan of, and she'd been in 2 previous movies, and I didn't mind them having her get the hammer. And
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's something from the modern comics. I didn't care
And
as
that
long
was
as
kind of cool the way
as long
she
as it was
worked it.
well written.
Yeah.
you know. But and plus they could have made her equal to Chris, and their love affair could have went on
Right.
or whatever. But man, I think Chris, I think Natalie, everybody was phoning that in. They were reading that script like I would read a grocery list. I mean, just like
Yeah, they had, like I said,
beans and corn and pick up some chicken breasts.
They had the opportunity to take that into a good movie for so many different reasons, and they kind of just poo-pooed it off.
Yeah,
With Natalie Portman being the goddess of thunder, Zeus, not just Zeus, but you had a whole arena full of different gods from different countries.
yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine how you could take something that had that potential and just jack it up.
Yeah. Well, you want to talk about your hammer?
Sure. Let's talk about the hammer.
So Stormbreaker.
This is Stormbreaker. Now in the movie, you know, he gets it because he wants to kill off Thanos.
Yes.
But
Can I hold it?
Yeah, but in the comic books, it literally was created.
It's heavy.
Well, it's supposed to be heavy. So it was actually created by Odin for Beta Ray Bill. Beta Ray Bill ended up obtaining Stormbreaker because of Odin had it made for him in the comic book. So that's how it came about, not because they were trying to do a god.
In the movie, it was Groot's hand.
Right.
Did you like that?
Yeah, I thought that was I think that was a pretty good twist.
Yeah, Peter Dinklage.
He did awesome with
Yeah,
that role.
he did great. I'm
But
trying
he's a
not to
good
move
actor.
it so it don't make no noise.
You can move it now. Now that it's done that.
All right, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Okay.
Can I touch your mural there?
Yeah. So I got that first.
Yeah.
Of course, because that came out
Now
first.
this is movie accurate.
Yes.
It's got the runes in the top. Have you deciphered them, or do they not say
No,
anything?
I haven't decided. I haven't tried.
I can read it. It says takes 2D batteries. It's pretty nice.
Wait a second. This say worthy.
Worthy.
Oh, you're worthy.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Hey, and it lit up. I didn't know it did that. That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
So that's how you tell if you're worthy to hold
Oh,
this
yeah.
hammer or not.
All right.
So yeah, I got this first, you know, because I was a Thor fan.
Yeah.
But then I had to get the Stormbreaker just because, you know, it was a badass. It was badass. It's to see him make that kind of comeback.
So let's see. Grab that Thor back there, if you can, without destroying everything. Yeah. So Marvel Legends, they had a 80 years celebrating Marvel.
Okay.
And they come out with a classic Thor figure, and I just really like that. So I picked it up. And this is back when Hasbro still had windows, and you can actually look in and see what you're buying. And I like his little hammer. You know, it's got the writing on it like my big hammer, and it comes with different hands and everything. But that's the Thor I grew up with.
Right.
That's classic Thor. You've got the T on the belt buckle,
Right.
so he don't get his belt mixed up with
anybody else.
all the other Avengers. And then this one, Hasbro tried to come out with a 12-inch. Tried to come out with a 12-inch line, and it really wasn't as popular, which I'm surprised because 12 inches is better than 6 inches, right?
Well, what's the price on that though?
Oh, it was like
was-
I think it was $50.
Yeah, that's why I didn't go well.
But those small figures
it's
have
not-
jumped up to 25. But he had a couple of different heads and everything, and he got a hammer. What I like is one of his hammers is made of resin, part of it. So it's like part of it's silver. I don't know if you could tell there, and part of it's blue. So the light hits it, makes it look like it's glowing.
Huh.
And so that's pretty cool. Now, do you like clean shaven
Let me see.
Thor or bearded Thor?
I like bearded Thor because it seems more Norse than the clean shaven. Although,
I wonder why we would
said-
like bearded
yeah,
Thor
I don't
better.
know. But
Wonder
the thing,
why.
but the thing is Norsemen actually kept themselves fairly clean and shaved.
Yeah.
So I mean, a beard was just more prerogative than anything else.
And Teresa just ran upstairs and threw this at me. She wanted me to, here, let me clean it off here. It's going to dust the house. But that's the Hela figure that Legend come out with.
Right.
And she cosplayed as Hela.
Right.
And made one hell of a Hela. And you cosplayed as Odin.
Right.
You made a heck of an Odin. And I actually posted those pictures on our Facebook page.
Okay.
And but yeah, you guys looked awesome together. And I would have done Thor, but I don't look nothing like Chris
Well,
Hemsworth.
I didn't look. I was gonna say I didn't look nothing like Odin, but I guess I did back then anyway.
But anyway, so what else you got, brother?
Speaking about cosplay, I ran into a group called Ohio Cosplayers.
Yeah,
Ohio Valley Cosplayers, and they
Ohio River Valley.
right. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Good job.
Orcs, I think, is what they call them.
Right. So anyway, give a shout out to them because they seen me in my Odin costume and asked me to take pictures with them because they had a Hela.
Oh yeah.
And a Loki.
Yeah.
And they's like, oh, dude, we got to take our pictures with you, which made me feel good.
Sure.
So
Yeah, because you
I
worked so
think-
hard on that costume.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. I enjoyed that.
All right, man.
I'm done.
You done? All right. I'm done. I think we're done.
All righty.